Davis has played more of the position. When you look at Jalen has played mostly wide out. Even though he's a tight end, he's played a lot of wide out. And so as we're getting deeper into the season and we're seeing the multiple fronts, he's doing a good job. But still, that's just a lot. That's the hardest position that we have. And then Davis has just shown the ability to pick up on things fast. And I think it's just a product of how he was developed in high school. You're talking about two different programs. You're talking about Calhoun, and then you're talking about Jalen's program. So I think it's just a function of, Davis came back and has really jumped in there, kind of understands things a little bit more, picks up on concepts better, and then Jalen is a guy that's getting better every single week. And it's just hard to play, especially if we're not playing a lot of 12 personnel, we're not playing a lot of 13 personnel. It's hard to rep, 4 guys in the course of the game.
You said the other night that you wanted to get Travis some no-doubt touches, design runs, but you're an RPO team, so as an offensive play caller, how do you kind of mold those two together where you make sure he's getting his touches but still keep your game plan?
Correct. I think that I got to do a good job in certain situations of taking the RPO off and then just calling it where it's a design run, regardless of what the defense is, just to force Travis. Because if you give Travis the ball, he's going to break a tackle or two. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then taking a little bit of stress off of Trevor, too, that he doesn't have to make every situation right. And then you saw early in the first 9, we jumped in some 12 personnel stuff with some flash motion stuff that forced the ball to him. So just incorporating that and not just making it a situation where you're putting all the onus on the RPO to bail you out. Sometimes you just got to force the issue, and that's what we did. Especially down there, once we got inside the red zone too, took some of the RPOs. There were a couple where we left the RPO on. There was some where we just said, hey, take the RPO off, let's hand it to Travis, and let's go.
I hope it's not a secret, but how much of the offense would you say in a given game is an RPO call versus design run, design pass?
I'd say probably at least 60% of it's going to be RPO based. Off what the defense gives you. And then definitely in short yardage, you take a lot of the RPOs off of it, but sometimes you leave it on, just depending upon how their tendencies are. But I'd say that's probably a fair assessment. But sometimes you just need to just take it off, even when you call the RPO looking concept, take the RPO off and let Travis get the ball.
Has Trevor done a good job of reading that this year and making the correct read?
Oh yeah, and that's what happens too, and that's what's tough, for the offensive line and for Travis is because some of the best block plays, well, that apex player was too tight to the box that we needed to throw, the RPO, and so you don't get the handoff. And then sometimes you just got to say, you know what, let's force the handoff, and that's where I got to grow too. Continue to get better. That's something I'm challenging myself is being able to get away from making everything perfect and giving all the answers and then give them enough answers. But sometimes, man, let's just go force the issue because I think we're capable of doing that.
How tricky of a balance is that going from like if you do this, then we'll do that to on the other side, we're just going to force feed. We're going to let our better players just keep in the ball.
I think that there might be a little bit more predictability when you're gonna definitely hand the ball off, just because of some of the sets that you get in to force the issue where you take some of the RPOs out. But that is a challenge. But this week was good for myself and good for us offensively to say, hey, this is probably the next step in our offense is to be able to jump from RPO to design run to play action to do some different things. So it was good.
Tony, what's the difference so far this year as far as maybe not being efficient on third down than y'all have been in years past? Is there something missing, or maybe you're getting yourself too behind the chains too much?
I think that early on we were probably in some third and long situations. We were actually better in short yardage up to this point prior to this game than we were last year at this point. But we were better in some of the medium and long yardage last year, and I think we have gotten behind some of the behind the chains some. And then this past game, I think the efficiency was a lot of it was in the second half. At times, and then we took some chances down there when we knew it was 2-down situations, where we knew we were going for it on 4th down, or we had 2 downs to try and get it. That's going to change your thought process a little bit. And I wouldn't say make you more conservative, but you're probably going to run the ball, thinking that you got 2 downs to get it, where you may have thrown the ball in that situation. So I think it's just a combination of a couple of things. But that is something that we're stressing with our guys is we can't just be an explosive team. We got to make sure that we can be efficient. And we made some strides. I know the numbers didn't quite show it this past week, but we had made a couple strides over the last couple weeks.
Is Maury Rogers one of the guys? You're still missing that Hunter Renfrow kind of guy, to where you're still trying to find that guy that can make those plays on third down that he was known for?
There might be some of that, but it's tough. It's tough to say. because J. Ross has been isolated in the slot, and we've had some opportunities. We just didn't execute. So I think that we got to have a larger sample size before we say that's the issue. I think, as you said, we've been in some long yardage situations where Renfro was really good in those medium yardage range, where we've been pretty decent there. We just haven't been as good in the 7 to 10 range.
With the success Amari's had the last couple of games, is he one of those guys that could probably fit that mold?
He body type wise and skill set wise, he's very similar to Renfro from the short area quickness. So definitely going forward, trying to get him involved in some third down situations. And then again, each team is going to have different tendencies. So I think each week, your thought process is going to change based off of what you're seeing on film.
Look at J.C. Chalk, and it looks like you guys are trying to use him a little bit more in those situations. Is that something going forward you think?
Oh yeah, and again, if you go back, before Hunter Renfro was your Jordan Leggett's and your Dwayne Allen. That was the guy that created that big time matchup advantage in the slot to the boundary. And then obviously when Renfro came around, you started using Renfro there. But again, JC, as I said, JC is making strides both